Much, Paul. Great to hear from you. What's it like setting up in another land, in a land far away? I love the wearers of the green. Love Ireland. What's it like living there, though? You should either text or give me a call. Simon has been on, says he's in Sunderland, in the garden, with a beer and a little fire. Yeah, a little fire. Hope it's not a neighbouring house. And Nicola Soltani, who I think is an international model, she says, I love a red-hot bubble bath, a glass of wine and candles burning, scented ones. Bliss, she says. And especially if there's nothing with testicles around to spoil it for you. That's the thing. David Spence says his idea of a simple pleasure is being able to get on his mountain bike 3 or 4 times a week. Sally, no, it's not Sally, it's Safi in Kielder. Don't know whether her name's Sapphire. That's a cool name. Anyway, Safi or Saffron, maybe. We'll talk to her later because I've noticed she's my second caller. Thomas Thompson says, my favourite comfort food. Comfort food on a Sunday afternoon with a good film is my best simple pleasure. Nicky Hall just wants to say hi from Geet Lumley. Emma Pallister says yes to face masks in shops. I've seen a picture. She doesn't really need one. And Ross says his idea of a simple pleasure is glass bottles of Coca-Cola. Cans are not right. Glass bottle of Coca-Cola from the club, he says, from the club. And Paul in Mask, he has told me in no uncertain terms what his simple pleasure is. In fact, he did it this afternoon. He does it most days. And all I can suggest is be very, very careful of repetitive strain injury. Anyway, let's go across and let's talk to Catherine, who's our first one on. And I think she is on the tack of simple pleasures too. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
Hello, darling. What's your simple pleasure then?
Homemade Yorkshire pudding.
Oh, crispy, crunchy with a soft bit in the middle. Little,
I've just got to all be soft.
Little bit of gravy. Oh, but you got to have a crunchy edge.
Oh, no.
Oh, you like the soft
All
ones?
over them, yeah.
Oh, do you not like anything hard? I was just saying, have you got a tooth problem? Why can't you get the crunchy bit?
I work in a sweet shop. I own a sweet shop. I've had enough of sweet things and hard sweets. And, yeah,
no, because I used to work very briefly doing like a weekend job just when I was a kid at Roundtrees with the pastels. And they say to you when you first get started, oh, you can have as many as you like. I did for about 3 days. Then I wouldn't touch one to save me life. You get so sick. So did you have a few weeks of nibble, did you?
Well, I still eat them now because it's free for me. So.
Right. So do you do the old ones or the new range, like your standard chocolate bars? Oh, brilliant. What's your big seller then?
Sarsaparilla tablets and pine pots.
Oh, hell's bells, that's going back a ways, sarsaparilla tablets.
I've heard of them. I'm quite young, so I don't know a lot of the things.
No, I mean, they were old sweets when I was a kid, and that was when most people lived in a cave. Right. So, Yorkshire puddings, does it have to be supplemented with anything like gravy or a full Sunday dinner or what?
I think a nice greasy Yorkshire pudding with gravy on the side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. With you all the way. And the thing is, if you buy... And I must admit, I am a buyer of Aunt Bessie's, you know, the frozy ones.
Oh, well, that's a bit posh for me, but yeah.
Well, it's Iceland, about £1, so it's not that posh. It's just when my mother used to make them, they used to be like 8 inches off the ground. You know, they were real big suckers. Don't know how she did it, but I've got to put up with the frozen ones at the moment, but that's just the way that it goes.
My son's granddad makes them. And his are massive, the rise and the huge. And
You've got to ask him the secret of the big, heavy risers, because when I make them myself, my wife makes nice Yorkshire puddings, but when I used to try to make them, they'd come out like biscuits. You know, they just didn't come up with not anything at all. So
he doesn't know how he makes them. He says you can't make them the same.
He's just not prepared to give you the secret. That is it. He's just keeping it to himself. You know, on his dying bed, he'll go, come closer, and then he'll tell you the secret. That's old people for you.
That would be my luck,
and they'll go, first you get an egg. That's come on, slap him a couple of times, bring him back. Just
always listening to this.
Come on, Grandad, what's the crack with your puds? Share them out. Give us a chance.
God,
dear. Yeah, well, my mother's gone. I cannot ask her anymore, so I'm asking your granddad. Let us know about your puddings. Right. Anything else then, Catherine?
No, not really, no. But can I give a little shout out for my little sweet shop?
Yeah, of course you can. Where is it? What's it called?
Kets and Pop, and it's in Roker, along from Roker Park.
Kets and Pop. Brilliant. Fantastic. That's
Thank you.
good stuff. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks.
All
See
the
you later.
best. Oh, you've got to go there. Get your cat, of course. Brilliant. What a great idea. The old sweets, and she's got sarsaparilla tablets and probably pineapple chunks and all of them. Brilliant. Now, what is the name? You can have a talk amongst yourself. Because we've got Safi here in Kielder. Hi, Safi.
Hi, Alan.
Hello. So what's the name? Because I love Safi. I love it. What's it from then?
So, well, my name's spelt Sophia, but the family's pronunciation is Sophia.
Sophia. Oh, I see it. Sophia, so it's Safi.
Yeah, so it was easier rather than everyone calling us Sophia or Sophie. Just Safi is easier, yeah.
Safi's nice. I think it's nicer than Sophie, frankly. But there you
Yeah.
go. So you like from an Italian family, Sophia?
No, it's it's a family name, but I think it goes back ages and ages, so God knows how far back it goes.
Does your mum and dad, when they drink tea, hold a pinky up? Are they posh people?
No.
Sophia.
Yes.
It's like people called Michael Collins. No, it's Michelle, actually.
Yeah.
So what can I do for you, Saf?
Well, I messaged in a few weeks ago about going through a breakup during lockdown and like the difficulties around it, like how do you know where for anyone to go and things like that. And
so what's happened? Because when you messaged in, I remember you hadn't actually. Was it right that you hadn't actually ended anything, but it was heading that way?
It was more like I was like, well, what do you do in this situation? Really, you've got nowhere to go, no one to turn to. Like,
so what did you do?
Lockdown. Well, just basically, I was very, very fortunate that a few of my friends were like, well, we'll help you and we'll take them out with your hair, that sort of thing. So. Yeah, I mean, that definitely made a big difference. It puts a lot of things into, like, perspective when, you've got to come out of these situations and you've got to find people to help you. And, so they were nice enough to kind of help us out and say, look, if you kick them out, which I ended up doing, that they would take them in. And so that kind of meant I didn't have to kind of run and hide anywhere or find a hostel or hotel.
Right. So has he continued pestering, or is he?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's just the way it always happens. Though I mean, I haven't broke up with anyone before, but I'd imagine it was just afterwards. It's pretty similar.
Well, it's difficult. It's disentangling yourself. How long were you with this guy for, sir?
12 years now.
Oh, hell's bell. So it wasn't like a 6, 8 month swift run.
Like 16.
Hell's bell. That's amazing. Right, so expect a fair bit of that. I mean, are you sorted out financially separate? Or are you still linked?
We should be. Yeah. I mean, I've always been very like good with money myself, so I've always been able to take care of myself.
Good.
And it's obviously, I think with some people though, like after a big relationship, he'll probably struggle more than me because I think I carried him quite a lot throughout the end, like throughout the relationship financially.
Sure.
But,
how do you feel? Do you feel freed, or do you feel that you've lost something? How do you actually feel?
I definitely feel free, Alan. Definitely feel free. Yeah.
That's
I do feel empathy towards them, though. I feel sorry for like the way it's had to come around this, But I think if I'll go back to the fact that it is lockdown. It literally you're forced to in the same house with someone 24/7 and all the little things. I mean, obviously there was big things, but all the little things just get really like highlighted. And once you realise, wait a minute, this is kind of like an imprint for like in like 20 years time when we're old and retired, and am I going to be able to kind of put up with him like that then as well? And just made us think really. And then I mean, silver lining is it's made us think clearly.
Good.
And hopefully it's given us a bit kind of the kick up the arse to go and do something about it.
Now the question is, there's two ways of dealing with it. I'm speaking from experience here. The male way traditionally is, first of all, it's come back, come back, come back, come back, come back, come back. And then you do the leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And then eventually he gets it. And then it's, oh, that girl over there, she looked at me. I think she might fancy me. And then he's off again. You know, he's
Aye.
off in another direction. That's the kind of the man thing. And I am.
I wouldn't mind it if it happened that way. Then I would sort of know that, yeah, he's Harry.
You'd
he's
feel a
moved on.
bit better. Now, you see, I am stereotyping both men and women with this, but bear with me. The woman's side of things tends to be, I will never trust a man again. And then you get about 6 to 8 months of that before maybe you catch the glint in somebody else's eye, just at the right time when you're feeling a little bit on your own.
Yeah, I've not been single for a long time, so I think I'll go down that route and enjoy being single for a while.
Hey, good luck to you. Well, thank you for coming on, Steph. Good luck, Donna.
No, thank you very much, Alan.
Take it easy, babe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Isn't she lovely? She'll find somebody, I'm sure. There's no question about that. It's just this lockdown thing. You've heard that little things are building up into big deals. Chris Mitchell says, great to see you doing well, Alan. Love the show. My 89-year-old mum-in-law, Laura, in South Shields, listens every Sunday night. Please give her a shout-out. She would absolutely love it. Thanks and best wishes. And he sent a little, I'm very chuffed emoji. So there you go. Good stuff. Laura, good to see you with us. Thank you very much. Always good. And Lauren is next. She is in Darlington. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Hello, love. What can I do for you tonight?
Well, I've just replied to one of your Facebook posts about those
Simple
precious
pleasure.
memories. Yeah.
What's yours then?
Basically, I lost my papa, which is my granddad. We just called him Papa.
Right.
We lost him in March.
I'm sorry,
Just-
Dan.
Oh, well, it's one of those things. He was like the matriarch of the family.
Right.
He had the Red Lion pub in Darton.
Oh, right. Huh?
Yeah, for 17 years. Longest, land.
Landlord of a
Yeah.
pub. Right.
Yeah.
So everybody in Darlow will know him then.
Oh, God, yeah. And that's what made it so hard when he passed, was because we could only have 8 people at the funeral
Well, of course.
because of COVID, yeah.
Was it COVID that took him?
No. Basically, I think he'd been poorly for quite a while, but he hid it from us.
So what was it that ended him?
It was pancreatic cancer.
Oh, blimey, what an awful way to go as well. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
That also took my nana on the other side, my granddad on the other side, and my uncle on the other side. So it's something that is
It's in the family.
well, we say it's in the family, but this was the other side.
Yeah,
So it was just a shock because as soon as we heard that it was pancreatic, we knew what was
coming. Yeah. How long did he manage to last after the diagnosis?
Well, he was diagnosed on the 17th of February.
Oh, blimey, he didn't have long, did he? Good gracious.
No, they gave him 5 months, and he died in the March. So
Wow. That's no time at all. How awful. That is terrible. How old was he?
he was 79, just a year short. I know that seems like a good age, but
Not these days. I mean, people are living into the hundreds these days. So
exactly. But he was just he was the pillar of our family. Like I'm the oldest granddaughter. I'm 30, and I've relied on him a lot. I always relied on him a lot. I got pregnant at 17, and he was always there. He was like my dad.
Right.
And he even drove me to the hospital when I was in labour with my second child.
Right.
And he took the bloody scenic route to the hospital from Darlow to Bishop because he's just used to doing it. And I was literally like holding on, trying not to give birth. And I'm like, Papa, please go quicker than 45 miles an hour. But he was just always the one that was there. But like looking back at pictures and stuff now, it's hard to believe that he's not going to like just walk up the drive. He's not just a phone call away. But also, my nana, his wife, they were married for 58 years.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, proper love story. But she's been suffering from mild dementia for, I would say, the last 8 years.
Right.
And I've worked in care for the last 10. It's my first job. So I saw it. The rest of the family were in denial. And we fell out over it for quite a bit, for a couple of years.
Right.
But my papa just sort of got on with things and just said, like, she is how she is, you know what I mean? And
That's a cool thing, you know, and I think it's generational, because now stuff like that, everybody gets jittery, and yet the amount of people that's kind of my parents' age, which would be the same as your granddad, it's kind of like, oh, I've got that, oh, well. I can't even imagine how you would take in that information and deal with it. And yet that generation, and maybe it's the generation that went through the war and da-di-da, maybe it's something about life experience, but they just take it on the chin and keep on keeping on, and that makes them all the more special, you know.
I know, see, it's a bit of that, and I think with my papa, it was a bit of denial, because if he owned up and said, yeah, she needs help, then it makes it real.
Yeah. I could say that. I could absolutely say that.
Me nana's Glasgow lass. She's fiery. She's red-haired. All our kids. I even had a child, like my third child, which wasn't. I've got 2 children previously with another marriage, and I've now got. I'm engaged to a black man, and I had a child with him, and it came out with bright red hair.
I tell you, that's like winning the lottery of life right there. Brilliant.
Couldn't even make it up. But, so she's this fiery little Scottish woman called Myra.
Right.
And she's just amazing. She is amazing. But as soon as Papa died, I mean, he died at home. We were all with him. It was really hard.
I think the thing, let's face it, if you didn't miss him, you didn't love him. And of course you loved him massively, and it's going to be a huge vacuum. But the only thing that I would say is I never had that kind of relationship, not even with my own dad, let alone my granddad.
Yeah.
So the fact that you had that kind of super intensely close relationship with this guy, and his wife, 58 years, for heaven's sake, they're the luckiest people on the planet, you know.
Oh, of course, I know that, and like to have grandkids, like great grandchildren. Like my eldest is nearly 12, but he was 11, and he's had his great grandparents there. And the thing is, I think that the more shocking is because the decline was so quick. Like 1 minute, we would go around. I was there every day, anywhere, because they were just round the corner.
Right.
So I'd just go around for breakfast, go around for a few cans of Foster's because they love to drink. And then, it just went from that to Papa being really poorly in the hospital.
And also, it's kind of, you sort of had a false alarm, because they said they gave him 5 months, but he was gone within a month and a bit, really, wasn't it? So that being the case, you had this expectancy. Well, he'd be here for Easter, or he'd be here for this birthday or that birthday.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. But then, everything that happened afterwards, my nana, we all already knew she had dementia to a certain extent. You wouldn't even think it. Even now, you wouldn't think that she had dementia at all. You wouldn't. And if you spoke to her, if you saw her in the street, you wouldn't give her a second glance. You would just think she's a normal, nice, Scottish, bit raged lady. But as soon as Papa died, she didn't have a clue. She didn't have a clue. And he died in the house, and my dad and my uncle were staying with her, and then she got violent after he passed. And it was really, really hard for my dad. It got to the point where she was being physically abusive to him, throwing coasters at his head, drinks coasters. trying to hit him with a piece of wood, trying to stab him, just being absolutely horrible. But as soon as I went round, she'd be sound. She'd be like how she used to be, like, "You all right, pet? Hi, darling."
It's a mount. That whole thing is a mountain to climb. I had both my parents, my mother particularly, towards the end went kind of the same way, and they don't know who you are a lot of the time, and they're calling you by different names. It's just it's a hard thing to cope with for anybody. But how are you doing? Enough of other people. How are you coping? You all right?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've worked in care for like 10 years. It was my first job. It's been my only job until I started banging boards, which I rang you about the other day.
Yeah.
But it's different when it's your own family.
Sure.
I mean, like when my papa was really poorly, I sort of took over because I know about medication, I know about who I need to ring and when, and like there was this really horrendous moment when my papa was in absolute agony, and just being the pit man that he was, he used to being the matriarch basically, and he just broke down in tears, and he said, "I'm in so much pain, Lauren, I just want you, I don't know what to do." It's like,
but you see, the thing that you're telling me there, and I'm an outsider, I could possibly even see it more clearly than you. You know, when we were talking about when we were given 5 months, why did he go so soon? Maybe he was in sufficient pain that he just wanted to go and he let go. Because you know, if you're in that kind of pain, you don't want it tomorrow. And if your body is going anywhere, sometimes you just don't put up a fight, because the people who live that extra few months, you know, they want to. And he was, I know.
Alan, he fought, and it was hard to see.
Bless him.
He fought because he didn't want to leave me Nana, because he knew what she was like. And the last thing he wanted was her to be on her own, because until he passed, we didn't realise how much he was putting up with.
Yeah. Just shows. So where's she now? Is she in professional hands now? Is she?
So after he passed, and she was like she was with my dad and my uncle, the police had to be called and everything. She ended up getting sectioned.
Right.
And she was sectioned in Bishop Auckland for, I think, about 3 months. And they got her on antipsychotics and tried to start with medication. And it was all up and down for a bit. And then they realised, like, there's no way she can safely live on her own. Even with carers, there's no way, because of how far gone the dementia is.
Right.
So she's being transferred to a home, which is luckily just literally 2 minutes around the corner from us.
Right.
So things are slowly but surely working themselves out. I'm so sorry to hear your story, Lauren. Your simple pleasure, I suppose, was just having that safety net there when your papa was.
Yeah, because that was my happy place. Because when I had my last son, he's only 2 now, but when I had him, I wasn't in a good place, and he didn't sleep, and he didn't eat properly, and I knew no matter what, I could just go around there, and they'd hold him, and they'd take him, and they'd make me food. I didn't have to cook for everybody else; they'd cook for me, and they'd just hold him, and that makes a massive difference to a new mum.
Sure, of course, absolutely.
And I just miss that. I just miss them. I miss Papa, and I miss Nana as well, because it'll never be the same again.
No, now time moves on, and other things will come about. It's the nature of life, and what you can't change, you gotta live with, and that's
I know.
It's a burden. But I'm so sorry, Lauren. Thank you for talking about them so well. I think we all feel that we knew them kind of somehow now. Thank you for ringing in.
All right, thank you.
Take care. Bye bye. Oh, that is awful. A bittersweet tale, no doubt about it at all. Now, just before we dive into a commercial break, what I'm going to do
is introduce you to a member of the Jam, Rick, the drummer, and probably the funniest member of the squad, although Paul's a gangster too. I'm going to play you one of their tracks, but first of all, let's find out what Rick, the worst thing that's happened to him. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to the Rick Buckler buddy? Accidents.
Oh, that's
howling pain.
Loads. I turned my car head over heels when I was driving home with John Weller sitting in the car next to me, and we'd been up postering London with some advertising, some gigs, and we had a bucket of wallpaper paste in the front, and we hit these roadworks underneath. Like they used to put old railway sleepers in the middle of the road, and we hit one, and we went straight over. Like rolled over a bonnet over boot, and of course luckily we got out of the car and walked away. And John Weller turned around to me and he said, my brains are all coming out, and it was all this wallpaper paste. Do you know what I mean? That was everywhere. So that wasn't a great. I think I broke my ankle in that one. I mean, I've put my foot through glass windows, and I'm not exactly accident prone, but
it's that rock and roll lifestyle. What are you frightened of? You got any rational or irrational fears?
I think, like most people, I can stand heights, but I don't like them.
Right.
I don't think there is much that I would say that I was actually afraid of, but I find that to be an absolute failing, because I've got myself into some big trouble because I don't seem to have any sense when it comes to things like that. Do you know what I mean? You should be walking away from the edge, not looking over it, if you know what I mean.
Alan Robson here, and welcome to another Grizzly Tales podcast. We've got a bit of grizzle, we've got a bit of sizzle, a little bit of everything for you, and I hope you enjoy it. A huge thank you to those of you who have gone through to the Robson's World podcast and made donations of every kind of size. Thank you so much. It does mean the difference between this continuing and stopping altogether. It is coming close to that point, and we would love to keep it going. The response from you guys has been great. We know you love it. We just need a little bit of help at the moment, and we hope that you'll step up to the mark. If you can't afford it, we understand it's tough times. Otherwise, there would be no question about the podcast. So anything you can do, we'd be very, very grateful indeed. It just seems whenever you get somebody who is in charge, someone whose name the world knows, you get flaky pastry. You don't get a firm crust. There's a problem there. They've got issues. And one such man was Joseph Stalin, the Russian leader. Now, you could say cobblers, and you'd be right, because his dad was a cobbler, his uncle was a cobbler, his grandfather on both sides, cobblers. They were a load of cobblers. And for a man who, in fact, instigated the deaths of literally millions and millions of his own people, he actually studied, initially, to become a clergyman. He wanted to work with the collar around his neck as a clergyman. Now, the only problem in this regard was that he told his friends at the time he thought it was a very good job because Russian clergymen slept with all the most attractive women, even though they're not supposed to. And he was determined to become a priest to get a bit of action, even though he didn't believe in God, which I would have thought would have been a stumbling point. Now, he was only 5'4", bit of a small bloke with small bloke syndrome. He wore boots with 2-inch heels to try and make himself look taller, and the second and third toes on his left foot were fused together, which a lot of people used to say was a sign of inbreeding. We don't know whether that was the case. And he was kind of built in a weird way. Frankly, if he was a Teletubby or if he was a Cabbage Patch doll, they would have thrown him out because his left arm was a couple of inches shorter than the right because he had blood poisoning when he was a kid. He also had pockmarks all over his face. That's why he grew his tash so big, to try and take your eye off the pock marks, because he had smallpox when he was little too. Now, for a man who was a mass murderer, he enjoyed joking with people, practical jokes. He would put a tomato on the chair of one of his guests just about to sit down, or he'd put salt in the wine of his guests at dinner parties. And when you realised it was Stalin that did it, you're not exactly going to complain, are you? Now, was he a good daddy? There's a thing, because sometimes the worst people on the planet seem to have been good fathers. Well, fatherhood was a skill that was frankly above his head. When his son Vasily started to cry when he was 3 or 4 months old, Stalin tried to quieten him down by blowing pipe smoke in its face. And when that didn't do the trick, he picked up the bundle and he stuck his pipe in the baby's mouth. His wife was not impressed. Now, you know, he was a Russian leader during the Second World War, and he wanted to try and give his troops a bit of incentive, a bit of a talking to rouse them up. So he could have sent whiskey, he could have sent beer. Both were readily available in huge amounts, but he didn't. Instead, he sent several Stalin lookalikes touring the front line, while he stayed safely behind the walls of the Kremlin in Red Square in Russia. So now we've kind of reached the First World War-ish. Let's talk about Benito Mussolini. He was the Italian leader at the time and a bit of a piggy. He used to like his food and he rammed it down. And the problem was, he bolted down all of his meals. And he said that nobody should spend more than 10 minutes a day having food. 10 minutes max, otherwise you're wasting your life. Now, because he ate so quickly, he ended up with a gastric ulcer, and he had that for the rest of his life. And that cut his diet down in later years to mainly fruit, and he had to drink milk over and over and over again to try and settle his stomach. He drank about 1 gallon of cow juice a day. And he hated touching anybody. You know, if somebody comes up and you shake their hand, or you give them a hug, or you kiss them on both cheeks, depending where you're from, well, he hated anybody touching his skin, apart from the ladies. And he abolished handshaking in Italy, and instead he created the Roman salute, which was almost identical to the German salute, but done in a kind of Italian way. Now, you know, I mentioned that he hated physical contact. Well, not enough to avoid him getting VD and suffering from frankly, a bit of a sore point all of his life. And despite this image of a man in peak physical shape, and he always prided himself on strutting about like that, he was prone to long, long bouts of illness. When he first became leader in Italy, he was renowned for wearing a bowler hat. And a lot of other Italians started wearing bowler hats to follow suit. Then one day, he saw Charlie Chaplin wearing a bowler hat. He saw Laurel and Hardy, his favourite comedians, both wearing a bowler hat. And that was the end of that. No more bowler hats. And anyway, it would have fallen off when, at the end of his leadership, his own people got their hands on him for misleading them and hanged him from a lamppost, where he was shot at dozens of times, hit with bricks and rocks, and it was an unpleasant death. He and his love.
Alan Robson.
Night Owls.
This is Night Owls on Greatest Hits Radio.
You never know who's going to call next.
0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Come on, Dawn. Pay some attention, lass. Sitting there, probably got a cup of tea. Just didn't get there quieting time, honestly. That Dawn French. Ever since she was that vicar, the vicar of Dribbly, she's always been a bit slow. Anyway, let's crack on. Incidentally, thanks to Mark, who tells me that there's a few pubs in Stockton, apparently, that have had somebody test positive for it. This is proving that opening the pubs is too soon. But as you say, we all need to get back sooner or later. So, on the other hand, I was finally at a family do last night, and in the Little Acre pub in Thornaby for the last 2 drinks before last orders. Good, so you're getting out there. Bottom line is, they're taking the necessary precautions. Hopefully, they will sort them out. And very quickly, before we go across to Lewis, I've got a few more of these that have come in. These are book titles, and they're good. I've just pooed myself by Sue Price. Dear. Is This Rash Dangerous? By Oh My Gosh. Self-Abuse by Paul Hard. Oh dear. You're an Ugly Bag by Frank Opinion. I Like Porn by Seymour Buns. Brilliant. And It's Paying Down Outside by Wayne Drops. Excellent. So let's head across to Lewis in Annan. Hi, Lewis.
Hi, I'm still giggling with some of those titles. They were
Crazy.
funny.
Daft things.
Yeah.
So what can we do for you tonight then, Lou?
Yeah, a couple of things. The first one being, we talked about simple pleasures, and one of those would be the ability to go to concerts, sporting events, football matches. I know a lot of people have missed going to games of football, and
Absolutely.
you take that for granted. I mean, I've been to, for someone who's blind, and some people might find this a bit strange, I like darts.
Right.
And I've been to the Premier League in Newcastle at the Metro Radio.
All right, the Metro Radio, yes, of course.
Yeah. I've been to Liverpool, and for my birthday a couple of years ago, I got tickets to go to the Winter Gardens in Blackpool.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the atmosphere in those places is buzzing. You can hear everybody chanting and singing, and they're all in fancy dress. So just to be there, all of the senses that you have got will be fizzing.
It's crazy. I mean, the first time I went to the darts line, it was in Newcastle. Right. And to be honest, I thought, I'll probably not enjoy this very much because you don't have the commentators and all this. But I loved it just for the atmosphere. And you maybe sometimes you weren't actually focused on the game. You were more focused on having a good laugh and
a sing-song.
Yeah. I mean, this time I went to Blackpool, it was weird how just a simple pleasure turned into something quite extraordinary. We went, we had table seats, and we were sitting pretty much right next to the stage.
Right.
And my dad actually said, "Oh, I'll show you. We're right next to the stage. I'll show you where it is." Uh-huh. And as we were just exploring, the guy who kind of brings the players on, the MC guy, he spotted us and he said, "Oh, hi." And I was winding him up. And I said, "I think I could do your job." And I was just doing it to wind him up.
Yeah.
And he just went, "Right, come on then. You're coming on stage."
Whoa.
What? It's like the warm-up entertainment for before it actually started, before we went live on air and what.
Yeah.
And so I had to come on stage and then had to this was still pre-match. This didn't go on the television, unfortunately. Uh-huh. But I got to kind of introduce one of the players onto the stage, and I picked the twice world champion Gary Anderson, the Scottish player.
Yeah.
From Eyemouth, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
And it was just, and then after that,
well, you hooked. You were hooked right there. Mind you, you asked for it. You did ask for it.
I suppose. And then I went back and sat down, and I thought, well, that's it. There were a few folk coming over and speaking to us and what. Yeah. And then about 10 minutes later, the MC guy comes out once the first game's on, and he said, "Oh, Gary Anderson signed this board for you." I was like, whoa, how did this happen? I was just winding him up, and it's turned into this epic night.
Yeah. But I mean, when you're sitting there, you're in the front of the stage. You've done your little bit up there, the business.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you've got all the buzz around you and people chanting, presumably doing that da 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 da, and all the other things that they do at the darts, which is brilliant. Can you make, when the guy goes 123, can you keep up with the numbers, or is that just irrelevant to you?
Yeah, I can actually. I remember, and sometimes when the dart hits the board, you can tell by the sound it makes what they've hit.
What? What? I don't understand that at all. How?
Yeah, if someone hits the bullseye, it sounds like it's a different thud. It's like
right.
I don't know. It doesn't sound as big when you hit the bull, and it's. Right. I've always just had it. It's like a few years ago when what was his name, won the world championship, Rob Cross, and he wanted 140 finish to win the title.
Right.
And he decided instead of going for the 60, he preferred to finish on the 16s.
Right.
So he went for the alternative route, which would leave him on the double 16.
Right.
And I knew what he was doing. I was like, right, so he's hit that. He went for the 57s instead of the 60s.
Right.
No, 50,
Treble
54s.
19. Yeah.
Aye, yeah. It was 54s. It was 18s.
Right. Oh, 80s. Beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it was just, I don't know, I knew what he was going for. Because the different targets make different noises. I just wish you could get blind-friendly dartboard, but it might be a bit dangerous, I suppose.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the fact that you're able to do that is helped, I suppose, by the reaction of the crowd. Because if they miss, it's and if they get it, hey! So you've kind of got the atmosphere to work from as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's that as well. I've often thought it's perhaps that. I mean, I was never good at maths at school, but basic addition and subtraction, I'm fine with. If someone goes 180, 140, I'll go, well, they've got 181 left.
Yeah.
165, they're on 88 now.
No, it's just really good because darts is, whichever way you like to look at it, it's a visual sport. There's no question about it. So for you to be able to get so much of a kick out of it, it's fantastic. No, good on you. Good on you, man.
Yeah. I think the crowd is probably why I'm able to tell. Because if they hit the 60, you suddenly hear, yeah. Or if it's a player they don't like, you hear them cheering when they've missed the target. Yeah. There are a couple of those.
Right, brilliant. You also wanted to talk a bit about pubs. What's the crack with that?
Yeah. Now, pubs, I find it difficult right now to judge whether the right decision's been made in England. Of course, up here, it's just beer gardens.
Yeah.
But, part of me says things have to reopen. But the other part of me says, after one weekend of it, I think, 3 pubs were closed again because they were confirmed cases of COVID.
Right.
And of course, you had the local lockdown in Leicester. So the easing of some restrictions caused a spike there. And actually here, I don't know if it was in the news, I don't know if you heard that places like Annan, Dumfries, Gretna, Lockerbie, we were put in effectively a local lockdown.
Right.
Because there's been a spike here.
Right.
So we had a 5-mile travel restriction that was still imposed. But looking at pubs, I think you've got Boris turning around and saying you need to spend for the economy and things, but then there is this danger, and then this virus is unpredictable. That's the problem.
Yeah, you see, the only thing that I would say, and this is just as an outsider looking in, because truly none of us really know whether this has been handled really well or appallingly. We don't really know. We just know that more of our people died than pretty much most of Europe. That's a fact. So that makes it sound like, well, we haven't actually done everything the way that we should. But now we're hearing Boris talking about, well, what they could have done was just kept the economy going and strong and all the rest of it, and people would have either got it or they wouldn't have got it. And the vast majority, this is no consolation to anybody who's lost someone, but the vast majority of people would have been okay.
Yeah,
And that's the same with every virus that we've ever had. Just for some reason, they decided to stop for this one and give us all of the details day by day by day by day. They didn't do it last year when more people died. And
I think, you said that. I heard you say that more people had died at this time last year.
But they didn't count them. But you see, for example, if you imagine for a second, we had that awful story about somebody who died of pancreatic cancer earlier on, bless her, in the family.
That was devastating. I was touched by that.
Cancer's an awful, awful damn thing. And it can touch pretty much any part of your body, as we know, and even your skin. So it's a horrible thing. But imagine if the news, every time somebody called it, went, today 33 people were called, have been diagnosed with cancer. And that's probably realistic. Nationally, it's probably hundreds. And you say, if they said that on every news bulletin for 3 months, and then they totaled it all up and said now 284,000 people in Britain have, it's a major, you can see how everybody's going to be scared witless, literally, about the whole thing. And that's what happened with COVID. And yet, the years they haven't centred on, well, I'm not going to tell everybody every number, people just get on with it and they say, oh, there's a terrible virus went wrong. I'll claim my grandfather. We're going to miss him. He was a lovely man. You know, it's just there's different ways of dealing with it. I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't, because I don't know. I'm just doing what everybody tells me to do, the same as everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way. I mean, I think, for everyone who's lost someone to COVID, it's devastating. I mean, touch wood, it's not yet happened to me, but
let's hope it never does.
It's a devastating thing, but as you say, it seems to be that the deaths that get recorded now, that are reported on, they're all associated apparently with COVID. You don't seem to get much in terms of, the only alternative is when it's a celebrity, like the footballer. What was his name again? That was devastating news. What was his name again? The footballer.
I can't
died
remember.
yesterday, the 85-year-old.
Oh, you mean Jackie Charlton?
Yes, Charlton. Yeah.
Yes.
That was.
That's very, very sad. He was a lovely fella. The thing with regards to people passing, though, it's kind of like we had somebody there earlier in the show whose grandfather's passed, and he died of a horrible thing, pancreatic cancer, and yet nobody particularly notices anything. Oh, it's sad that he's gone. Oh, what? Everybody's concerned. Was it COVID? Even I asked, was it COVID? And because everybody's obsessed with COVID, because they've made us obsessed with COVID. It isn't. This isn't something that's happened by accident. They wanted us to know about it. They wanted us to be concerned about it. They wanted us to count every day numbers. They're only going to do that if they really want everybody to be aware and frightened. Now, I don't know why. I know it's a horrible thing, but I don't know why they went to town in the way that they did when they haven't over all of the other ones in previous years. And some of them have been worse, and some of them haven't been.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, nothing else has had this kind of response to it. I mean, I wasn't around at the time of things like the Spanish flu and what, but I was around for the Ebola, and I know it wasn't as bad. But
no. But you see, if you go back to when you were teeny small, the whole AIDS business, when it broke out and we're having adverts every 15 minutes warning us, this thing, it's going to kill us and there's no cure. And even that didn't stop us doing anything. The economy kept on going, and I know it was a different thing, and I know it's passed in a different way, but it was a massive thing that took out millions of people across the world. And yet we didn't deal with it that way. We just said, this is here. We need to know about it. Now you know about it. Be careful. If you've got these symptoms, come and get some help. And I don't know whether that should have been the way that we dealt with it or whether we shouldn't. I don't know whether less people would have died. Because what people ended up doing, if you remember, they told people, don't go to hospital. Stay in a care home for up to 28 days or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't make it 28 days.
No, and that's devastating. I mean, we had the heartwarming story earlier. I mean, I know it wasn't COVID, but you never know how long it's going to be. And I mean, my granddad a couple of years ago, we were told I remember the exact date, it was the 6th of August, we were told he wouldn't make it to Christmas.
Oh, blimey.
And
Right.
gone on the 8th of August. So you just never know. That's the problem.
No, you don't. But on top of that, we're not supposed to. Nature does its thing, or God, if depending on what you believe in. But it's going to be what it's going to be. I think we can agree across all particular strands of faith. We can't change it. It's going to be when it's going to be, and we have to deal with it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we always try and get through it together. But hey, lovely talking to you, Lewis. Thank you very much for coming on. Great to have you with us. Thanks, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. He's a great lad. And again, you talk about simple pleasures. His simple pleasure, he's tuned his mind to appreciate something that he can't see, obviously. That's a visual thing, and he's got it nailed, that whole darts thing. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. People are very gifted. Now, Fiona is in a part of the world I know very well, for it is the glory that is Elsick in Newcastle upon Tyne, which I think it's safe to say is still Benwell. Hello, Fiona.
Hello there, Alan.
Hello, darling. What can we do for you tonight?
It's about this COVID you're about the lockdown, and then pubs have opened up and shops are opening up. It's got me mad because Newcastle's opened up.
Yeah.
There's people everywhere, and like you've got the sub kitchen.
Yes.
We call it the people's kitchen.
It is the people's
That's
kitchen.
serving food, but they only serve at the door. You can't go inside. Why?
That's a good question. You see, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but I'm sure many have. Doctors, you can't go. Hospitals, if you do go, you're masked, they're masked, they're in gloves. They might as well wear those space suits that you sometimes see, when in films like Pandemic and all those weird films. Dentists won't touch you. Everybody in the medical world's being super, super, super careful. And I think they're bouncing that on with the kitchen. They're just being super, super, super careful. And now, if your doctor, your dentist, and your optician and everybody else is that worried and careful, it makes everybody else go that extra yard to be super careful. I agree with you. Yesterday and the day before, I was seeing people sitting in cafes again. Yes, there was yards apart and the distance the tables out as best they can, but they're sitting there and having a cup of tea. And let's face it, if you haven't got a home to be able to go into the kitchen and have a chat and a chin wag with your pals, it's somewhere comfortable where it's warm, where you can get a cup of tea and a sandwich. It's an amazing, wonderful thing, and the sooner that gets back to happening, the happier I'll be too. But I cannot criticise them because they do such a great job.
Oh, they're doing a brilliant job. I was just down there the other day. They give us food and everything, but we're all like friends and that. We're talking, why isn't it open? Why can't we come in and all that?
Because the thing is, those people that you're talking about, they're outside within a foot of each other having a chat, aren't they?
Yeah.
So why can't they be doing that, sitting at the table inside? I understand absolutely what you mean.
I know, but I've seen people on buses. They're supposed to wear, I said, you've got to wear a mask, you've got to be on a bus. I don't get a bus, I'll walk, I'll pedal.
Right.
I'm on a bike. But I've seen people on buses without the masks on, and they're supposed to have the masks on.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going on? It's just gone out. It's gone out the door. It's just gone totally crazy, this virus, because it's been we on the streets keep saying it's been airborne that long, even before it actually came out.
Yeah, but you see, when you get somebody, and this is the same thing that happened with Boris coming out to talk about kids at school. The schools are going to, he says, the schools are going to open I think it was, they're going to open up in August. And they said, but people don't have to take their kids back. So everybody says, well, I'm not going to send my kids back. So then Boris says, well, now what do? I've told them to go back, but they won't go back. What do? Fine them? Send them to prison for not sending? There's nothing he can do. So what he's got to do is he's got to say what to do and say legally that's what you have to do, otherwise you'll be fined. It can't be I'm going to make a law and you can please yourself whether you follow it. You got to give if you're going to say it and mean it. Because in Ireland they say kids are going back to school. Anybody that doesn't send will be fined, and everybody goes, oh okay, we'll send them all back to school again. It's just.
See, I've got a nickname for Boris. It's called Boris Morris Horace. That's what I call him. That's his nickname, and I can do whatever I want. But that man has not got a clue what he's doing. He's just bringing out rule after rule, and then he contradicts himself and everything. Hell with here.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. Wouldn't last 5 minutes on Adelaide Terrace on a Friday night. That's a fact.
Cooking Newcastle, Boris Morris Horace.
Hey, good talking to you, Fiona. Thank you for coming on.
No bother. Bye.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. There you go. Elzik. And, happy days. Nora's Wool Shop. There you go. Happy days. Going to play you a bit of music, but first of all, let's talk to Jim Kerr of Simple Minds. Superstar he is. And I don't know whether you can recall, but a while back, he fell out of love with music. And I wasn't even sure that Simple Minds were ever going to record again. Then we had this conversation.
I think to step back. I think you got to step back. You know, if you live by the ocean every day, you don't even see it anymore. I know that for a fact. I've lived by the sea. You don't even notice it.
Right.
And yeah, music. I mean, having said that, I'd hate anyone to think we were ungrateful because we've enjoyed every minute. But I don't want to put out music unless the heart's fully in it. So we'd to step back, and indeed, part of that was. You start to step out of the industry a bit, and I guess it's like when you start to listen to music again as you did when you were a kid, not thinking, oh, that drum sound or this or what's the American market wanting. You know, you get into it through the love of music again.
This is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
This is Night Owls on Greatest Hits Radio.
You never know who's going to call next.
0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
There you go. And do not forget that we're looking for some of the Daft book titles as well. And I have a clue. I haven't given you your first clue yet for tonight's competition. You know, we're always going to be looking. This is is it a toughie? I think it's actually quite tough tonight. I'm going to give you 4 words that appear in a song. And you're going to guess the name of the song from those 4 words. Sounds impossible? It can be done. And if you do it, you could be our winner tonight. You get one of our Night Owl mugs that we'll send out to you. The first clue is this. Frenchman Bertrand's first name. He had a hit with a song called Ça plane pour moi, 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 moi. Ça plane pour moi. Bit of a pogo song around about the time of punk. Somebody Bertrand. What was his first name? The guy who had a hit with Ça plane pour moi. It was a Frenchman called Bertrand. What was his first name? That's your first clue, because we're Greatest Hits. You should know these things. 3 more clues to come, and then you tell me the name of that, and then you win, and everybody's happy. Supposedly. Also, songs, or should I say book titles, these are great. They're compiling, and thanks for everybody who's sent in. How about a book title? Doctor, I Smell of Fish by Anchovy. Brilliant. Getting Up in the Morning by Sheikh Aleg. The Haunted House by Hugo First. Brilliant. Arguing with the Wife by Xavier Breath. Wimbledon by Dennis Court. We're Better Than Chimps by Bob Boone. The Yellow River by I.P. Freely. Oh, dear, dear, dear. And this one's a bit, bittersweet. He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother by Paul Bearer. Oy. So if you got any more weird, strange, or peculiar book titles, do share them with us. We'd rather like it. And we also have had Anissa Hoare contact the show. She says, Alan, what are the finer things in life that you get from the glory that is the North? I love all of it. Absolutely. The whole package, except the weather. But I love the lot. And I revel in local food. Love local food. I love the coast. I love the castles. I love the countryside and the stuff you see in it. Just simple, talk about simple pleasures. The other day I was driving down a country lane and a little mouse ran across the road. And I'm not making this up. When I was driving back, just before I got to the area where I saw that mouse, it went back across the other side of the road. It was like it was going to the Mousy Morrisons. However, what's the chance of that? So just stuff you see. It's all around you. We heard the Simple Minds singer Jim Kerr talking about how he lived by the sea and he stopped seeing it. People live by the coast and they don't realise what's on their doorstep. They live in the country and they don't see it every day. Life gets in the way and it shouldn't. And when you can separate yourself from it and just envelop yourself in the North, it's an amazing place to be. Anyway, let's crack on. We have Diane, who happens to be in Blythe. Let's go there. Hi, Diane.
Hiya.
Hello, darling. What are you talking about tonight?
Oh, I'm just sick of this coronavirus.
Yeah. How's it? How's life at Blythe? Is everybody bossing you about in the car parks?
Yeah, a lot of fights and stuff.
Oh, hell's teeth. So, are things opening up much? Have you done the pub thing yet?
I haven't done the pubs. I've been in the cafes.
Right, good. How's that work? Tell me the name of the cafe and how did it work?
Coffee Central in Blythe.
Right. And are they all distancing tables and you can't queue close
Yeah.
or all that kind of stuff? That's cool.
Yeah.
But you still managed to get your bun and a cup of coffee anyway.
Yes, yes.
Brilliant.
They take your name and address once you've been in.
All right, just in case any
Yeah.
crap. And the thing is, if once you've left, heaven forbid, but let's say in 3 weeks' time, suddenly you're coughing and sniffling and you think, oh, hang on. Would you then go
Yeah.
back to every single shop you've been in and tell them? I mean,
No.
so I don't know how they're going to link the whole thing together,
Yeah.
is it? But anyway, hey, it's their problem, I suppose. But
Yeah.
hey, fingers crossed we could just get past it now. It'd be lovely just to move on, but
I think it's getting
safely.
better now, though, isn't it?
I hope so. I sincerely hope so.
Yeah. And my mum's been struggling with it.
Oh, she's had it, has she?
No, she's been struggling with the coronavirus.
Right, but she hasn't had it.
No. She doesn't like wearing their masks.
Oh, I understand, and I don't know about you, but the whole mask thing, and I must admit I haven't done much of the mask thing, but I had to go into the doctors and I needed a mask, and I had to go to a hospital and I needed a mask. And the time when I think people need a mask, definitely, is when you go to the hospital, because that's when you're more likely to catch the damn thing, because that's where people are that's got it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got to wear them on the buses and all.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Right. So your mum's struggling with it. Has she, and is she of an age that she's at risk, is she?
Yeah, she's 73.
Oh, hell's teeth, right, okay. Well, you just wouldn't you? And you'd keep yourself indoors a bit more often than you would. Has she been all right for getting food and stuff in? Has she been using you?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Good. Look after her. Look after her. Anything else then, Diane?
No, that was all right.
Bless you. Thank you for coming on. Lovely to hear from
thank
you.
you.
Take it easy and love to your ma. There you go. And I think we're all struggling a bit, one way or another. Wayne, the para, has come in with a book title. And how come we haven't had this already? Tiger in the Bed by Claude Bowles. Brilliant. Old but solid gold, Wayne. Solid gold. 0191 488 3188. Now, here's somebody that I haven't heard of in a while, or from a while. It's our Stacey from Waka. And the last time I heard from her, she'd just been diagnosed with leukemia. Hi, Stacey.
Hi, Alan, you okay?
I'm all right. I'm worried about you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've been bad again.
Right. What are they doing? How are they treating your leukemia then?
I'm still on the tablet every day.
Right.
It's a cancer tablet, but instead, you know, people who go to the hospital have chemo.
Yes.
It's not like that. It's chemo in a tablet.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, you see, if they felt it was seriously life-threatening, I would imagine they'd probably give you proper chemo. The fact that they're giving you a tablet's actually, and I know it doesn't sound very positive, but it's probably better than going through the other thing. Does it cause you any side effects at all?
Yeah, most of the time, because I used to have to take it every day.
Right.
And when I take it every day, it paralyses us. Literally, I'm in bed all of the time.
Like a zombie.
My bones are aching, and it's like I can't walk. My arms ache. You know.
Right.
I was getting headaches all the time.
So how often do you have to take this damn thing now then?
3 times, then 4 times. Like every week, I've got to up the dosage.
Right. So hopefully your body will get your body will get used to it, so you don't have those bad feelings anymore. I hope. I hope so.
So do I. So I've been through the wars again. I've been back in hospital.
Oh, what's that's what you done now?
Well, you know, I still get my gallbladder problem after I got my gallbladder out.
Yes, remember.
I phoned 111 one night because the pain was, I couldn't move. I was in so much pain. And they said, well, what we need to do, because now we have leukemia, we need to send you into the hospital to get tests to make sure it's not an infection.
Right.
So I went. I was really reluctant to go, but she said, don't worry, you'll be protected. Like the ambulance that comes out for you, they'll have the full gear on, the full PPE.
Right.
When you go to hospital, you'll go straight into another room, like on your own. You'll be protected, you know.
Right. And is that how it worked out?
Yeah.
That's good. Good.
So when I got there, I was given pain relief when I was at home, and on the way to the hospital, I was given pain relief.
Right.
So there's a bit of a mix-up what happened here, but when I spoke to one of the surgical team, because that's who I go through for my abdo pain, they says what we want to do is keep you in for 24 hours to do blood tests and to manage your pain. So then you can go home. And I said, well, I'm really reluctant to stay in hospital. Obviously, with COVID, I'm really reluctant to stay in.
Yeah,
I don't want to catch anything. You know, like you said, a hospital's the worst place to be.
You'd have thought, right.
So with that advice he said, I said, right, well, I'll stay in 24 hours, but, that's it,
Right.
So they said, right, no problem, we'll give you more pain relief and we'll put you up to another ward, just like a surgical ward.
Right.
Ward 36. So I said, right, no problem. I got on the ward. This was within, 4 hours, I would say, 4 to 5 hours from the time I phoned.
Right.
I got on the ward, and they gave us more. On the way to the hospital, I was given one dose of morphine. When I was at the hospital, they gave us one dose of morphine. And then when I got on the ward, they gave us Oromorph, which is like a liquid form of morphine.
Were you conscious or were you floating by then?
So I had 3 lots of morphine within 5 hours. So all I can remember is sitting on the bed in the ward. Well, I'm a big girl, so when I got on the ward, I changed my pajamas.
Right.
And I sat on the bed and I said to the nurse, after she gave us the Oromorph, I said, I feel funny and I'm really hot. I could feel a sweat on my face.
I bet, yeah.
And then I can't remember anything after that.
I'm not surprised.
When I woke up, I had an accident. I wet myself.
Oh, no.
Which I've never done since I was little.
Sure.
I wet myself. I had oxygen in my nose.
Right.
Oxygen tube in my nose. In the intensive care, the doctor was on the ward. And I can remember the doctor saying, this girl is very sick. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how am I sick? I've only come in with pain.
Yeah, you just wanted to balance the pain out. You didn't want any of that kind of stuff that's been going on.
So then I must have went somewhere else again. And when I woke up again, I was on ward 52, which is respiratory ward.
Right.
And I had a bigger mask on my face, like a breathing mask.
Yeah.
I had no glasses on. I don't know what you call it. You might know what you know when you can't. When old people can't wee, and they put that bag in.
Oh yeah, colostomy bag.
Yeah. Well, I had one of them in, which I've never had one in my life. I'm only 31.
Sure. What's that all about? I mean, that was not part of what you were talking about. That's for sure.
No, I had one of them in. I was on a full oxygen. It wasn't oxygen. It was like a mask that was breathing for us. I couldn't talk. I couldn't remember anything from. And this was a Saturday by this point. I went in on the Thursday, and this was a Saturday, and I still my auntie came up the hospital with clothes, with clean clothes.
Yeah.
Can't even remember anything. So the following day, which was a Sunday, was when I was starting to remember things. So apparently, because I was given morphine within so many hours, so much morphine within so many hours, I had respiratory failure, type 2.
Good gracious! You could have died.
There was loads of bad gases in my body, so I have bloods every 2 hours.
Right.
I had me blood gases checked every hour. So something that was going to take 1 day took 4 days in hospital.
In a way, you know your reluctance to go in at the very beginning, and you say, I don't want to go in the hospital. Doesn't that kind of confirm everything you were worried about? Because none of that was necessary. You go into hospital and they make you feel worse.
They even phoned me next to King. They even phoned Kevin.
So everybody's terrified you could lose your life just because they had messed around with you when they actually said to you they weren't going to do any of that.
They said what they were going to do is put us on the ward and manage my pain.
Right.
They managed my pain all right. They gave us too much morphine.
Right.
So I was in for 4 days, and when I started remembering things, when I started coming around myself, apparently I couldn't use the toilet. Anyway, I know it's disgusting, but anyway, I couldn't use the toilet.
No.
I couldn't speak properly. One of my eyes was bigger than the other.
Right.
I had no phone. I had no glasses because I wear my glasses all the time. I had no glasses. I had no bottoms on, so they must have took me bottoms off to put that thing on. So I felt a bit violated.
I bet.
The first thing I asked is if my family knew.
Who's giving you permission to do all of this stuff,
As far as I was aware, I didn't give anybody permission. Like,
because you went in there essentially to go in and get your meds sorted out. That's what it was. This doesn't involve poking you, prodding you. And I suppose they're giving you morphine. Surely they knew how much they'd given you, didn't they?
Well, apparently, I don't like to slander anybody, but apparently I spoke to someone who works in the nursing industry, and they were saying if you're a big person and you have morphine, if you're given so much morphine, you have to have oxygen.
Right,
I swear on my life, I was never given oxygen when they were giving us the morphine.
No, but they gave it to you 3 times without oxygen. This is not like, we forgot the first time. It's
not
like
3 times.
3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Oy. How are you feeling now? Are you all... I mean, when you said that you couldn't talk properly, I'm thinking, you're from Waka, for heaven's sake, so we understand that. But the rest of it's just out of order, though. I mean, presumably then they had to get the colostomy bag out and get your body working as near normal as it could, and then get you up and out and ready to go. But 4 days, when you only told them you would be there overnight, full stop, then you're away home again.
For the 3 to 4 days, I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I was on a fluid bag. I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't using the toilet. And I had no, it was like I had no control over my body.
I can't imagine.
I couldn't see family to make sure that, obviously I trust the hospital, but I couldn't see family to make sure it was all legit.
I know, but surely they've got to ask somebody. Your next of kin, even ring them up and say, "Look, we've done this. This has happened. We want you to know. Are we able to do this and that?" And I'm sure he would have said probably yes, but just surely they've got to ask somebody. They can't just do.
No, but apparently my auntie came up to the hospital at 11 o'clock in the day to drop my bag off. This was on the Friday, and I took bad on the morning time between 9 and 10, and she wasn't told when she dropped my bag off.
They would just thank you very much, goodbye. Okay, we'll pass it on. That kind
and
of stuff.
I wasn't given my cancer tablet either. I wasn't given any of my medication that I take every day. I wasn't given any when I was at the hospital.
It's just a catalogue of disaster, isn't it, really? Are you going to make a complaint about it or not?
Nah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it because
It's not your way, and I know you're going to go back and stuff, so you feel like, maybe I shouldn't do that. But it's something to think about. Stacey, bless you, darling. Keep in touch.
Can I just say something else?
Of course you can.
I was also at the doctor's last week.
Yeah.
Because you were saying something about the doctors all being PPE'd up and that.
Yeah.
Well, I started getting this rash on my body, right?
Oh. Whereabouts?
So, everywhere.
Oh, right.
So I sent a picture to the GP because they do that first to make sure you don't have to go into the surgery.
Right,
And he says, Stacey, I don't understand where this rash has come from.
Right.
Because this sort of rash, what it is, I don't know what you call it. But what the rash is it's a human form. It's foot and mouth disease.
What?
It's a human version of foot and mouth disease.
Right.
And it's usually only common in children.
Right.
But because my immune system is weaker, I've picked that up straight away.
So have they given you, what are they giving you? Antibiotics or cream to put on? Or what you
Cream
doing?
for 10 days. It's like the chicken pox.
But it's everywhere, is it? Yeah, top and bottom, everywhere. Ugh.
Everywhere. And what it is I looked online and it said that it comes from human feces. If human feces have contact with your immune system, that's where it comes from. So that's another thing I was thinking about the hospital. If I've touched something and I've not realised, and then I've touched my face, that's how I've caught it.
Yeah. What a horrible picture that paints, though. It means you probably pooed yourself as well, and then, ugh.
Everything's been disgusting, do you know what I mean? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I says to Kevin, wait till I phone Alan and tell Alan.
Absolutely.
And I didn't like to make a fuss, because I understand that they're so stressed out, the NHS at the moment.
I know. I know, but what they've done to you is wrong. They caused you to almost die.
I could have died. And everybody I spoke to says, you're in the right, Stacey.
Absolutely. Okay, there's no way you could be in the wrong. You didn't administer 3 batches of morphine to you in a short period of
5
time.
hours. I had two lots of morphine in a drip, and then I had the oral liquid morphine in my mouth, all from, say, 12 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning. And everyone I've spoke to says, no, Stacey, they need to give you oxygen as well because you're big. And they would have clearly seen that you were a big woman.
Right. This is why maybe a questioning letter, even if it's not a complaint, to say, is this normal? What happened to me? I was knocked out. I had no idea what you were doing. I was supposed to be in just for 24 hours, as agreed. Ended up there for 4 days because of what you did to me. And
the fact that they took my clothes off.
I know all
Obviously,
of that.
I trust them, but they took my clothes off as well, you know. And
no, it just reeks to me. It's wrong. But Stacey, bless you, darling. Stay
just
well.
One more thing. Can
Yes.
I do a big shout out? A big thank you?
Yes.
A big thank you to Scott Jackman at the Tabinia pub in Walker.
Right.
Because while I've been in isolation, while I've been shielding for 16 weeks, he's been delivering dinners.
Oh, that's great. What a good lad.
3 to 4 days a week to us.
That's
and
brilliant.
also food parcels when I haven't been able to go out and get food.
How good is that? Hey,
He's not doing it now, but I just want to say like a big thank you because not many people thanked him, you know, and he's had a lot of bother since he's opened the pub, you know.
he's a superhero. Well done. The Turbinia. Thanks for coming on, Stace.
Right, no bad. Nice to speak to you.
Gan Kelly Pet. 0191 488 3188. Hell's teeth. She's been through the mill. Time for a quick piece of music, but first of all, let's talk to somebody geet famous as Oot. Let's go there. I want to get through as many of these as well as I can. Will has been on with some book titles. Ocean Fishing by Richie and CJ Bass. A Walk in the Woods by Teresa Green. A Walk in the Glade, Teresa Brown. A Guide to the Russian Kama Sutra by Iva Biggin. A Dummy's Guide to Comedy by Joe King. Tracy. She's done it again. And Simple Pleasures, laughing out loud, she says. And then she sent me the perfect picture of a bacon sandwich. Not just a nice bacon sandwich, but a perfect bacon sandwich. You can probably hear the salivation. It's already there. Chris the Truck. And the simple pleasure I'm looking forward to in the next couple of weeks is the last commute before a holiday. I've been grafting all the way through lockdown, looking forward to some well-earned time off, not actually going anywhere special. It'll just be nice to recharge the batteries. Also, homemade Yorkshire puddings, Savoy dips, ham and peas pudding stotties, and comforting smells. I'm actually with you on the bread and the tar. I'd also throw in freshly cut grass. Absolutely. But I get the sneezes. I don't think I've got like allergies and stuff like you do, you know, like a lot of people do. But I've started getting the sneezes with the cut grass. The History of Formula One by Ray Sindriver. German Coiffery by Her Cuts, oh dear. And The Art of Budgie Fancying by Dickie Bird. Chris the Truck, thank you very much for that. Which superstar should we talk to, though? Dolly Parton.
Because I have the weirdest fan story ever, and it concerns with Jolene. When I first wrote Jolene, I was living in Nashville. My husband and I had just built our new house, hadn't been out there very long,
right.
And so I came home from work one day, and there was a basket at my gate down the foot of the hill, and I was pulling in my gate, and I thought, oh, somebody's left some things here. I thought maybe, you know, one of my sisters had left some food or something. Right. And I opened it up, and there was a baby in there, and there was a note. Seriously, listen to this. It had a note that said, my name is Jolene, and I want you to have me. You can have me to raise. And I freaked out. What? I thought, oh, my God, somebody's left the baby here. So I thought, oh, I didn't know whether to touch it, whether to pick it up. So I went flying. I went on into the house, and I got the lady that was running the house. I said, go down to the gate. Wait there. I'm going to call. So I called Human Services and Child Services. And so they came and they took care of it. But is that not freaky? I never did know. I didn't know what really happened, but somebody had just given me their baby and said his name was Jolene. So I don't know.
So have you ever written another song using somebody's name since, just in case?
Well, I was cautious about it.
Alan Robson.
Night Owls.
or those ads still on. I know, but it pays the way, you know. Hey, let him get on with it. But just you make sure that you're either listening or watching after the ads. Night Owls is coming up pretty soon. Thanks for being with us.
Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And we have, hey, tons of messages piling in. If I don't get a chance to read them all, my apologies. I shall do my darndest. Alan, please give a shout out to all of the Ford meat lads and lasses who found it really hard during the COVID-19 thing. And my simple pleasure is cleaning my car. It de-stresses me. Cleaning my car distresses me. Lauren says, my simple pleasure is looking at photos of my recently deceased papa. And we had that lady on a little bit earlier on, and she feels closer to him if she does. Jen says, it's different here in Australia than the UK. Back to lockdown in Melbourne, the record high of 191 new cases on the 7th of July prompted the Victorian Premier, Daniel Andrews, to reintroduce stage 3 restrictions right across Melbourne. Under the new restrictions, there's only 4 reasons you can leave home: shop for food, essential goods, to provide care, to exercise, or for work or study if you can't do it at home. Lewis says, one of those pleasures you talk about came a couple of years ago for me, and that was his trip to the darts. And we had him on. Amazing, incredible stories, good stuff. And we also have more of the books, the weird book titles. Some of these are cheeky. Blushing by Beetroot. When's Alan On by Gladys Knight. How Do I Get Oot by Isidore There. Who Bonked My Daughter by Ivan Alibi. Diarrhea by All of a Sudden. What My Wife Did with a Candle by Jack B. Nimble. Night Owls Back 5 Days a Week by Vic Tree. Very good. And this is the one, now hang on, just a cut and pick a minute. I know, and I apologise for all this, however, Alan's Gorgeous by Shirley You Jest. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, Donna's with us. Oh, Donna. She's in Wallsend. Hello, Donna.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, love. What can we do for you tonight, then?
Well, I'm phoning up really, obviously, I've answered the question about the simple pleasures.
Oh, right.
My simple pleasure, Alan, is just getting up in the morning, having a cup of tea and packing a biscuit.
And a packet of biscuits.
Oh, yes, I've got to have the full packet, Alan.
Which biscuit?
I like the Fox's Crunch Creams. You know, the vanilla
Fox's Crunch Creams. You can wallop through a packet of Crunch Creams.
Oh, I'm never happy unless I've eaten them all. But what I found is, like, what it's all about, yeah, we've been through a tough time with this COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody's had the worries and the struggles. But, like, what I'd like to hear is, like, the positive side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I phoned up with a positive story.
Good girl. Let's have it.
So, during the COVID, my daughter turned 17. So she was 16 when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously she's a teenager. And I've had a hell of a life with her. I'm not going to lie. Her stepdad died when she was young. We've had like a few problems on the way, where she's went and lived with her nana and come home. And before the lockdown, we didn't get on. Like, not at all. We would clash.
Right.
And I just dread the thought of her coming in. I say, oh, she was due any second soon from college.
Right.
You know, absolutely dreading it. But, I mean, during the COVID, we've been stuck in the house together. And what an amazing lass she is. She's, like, turned into an adult during the COVID.
Wow.
Because we've been stuck in the house.
Yeah.
We're getting this just absolutely amazing bond.
That's great.
And I just want to know how many other families out there have been stuck in a position where they've been stuck in with a terrible teenager.
I think there's probably more trying to push the band to the door to go and live with her nana rather than what's happened with you. That's great.
Oh no, mine's been my mum, she's had like health problems,
Uh-huh.
and before the COVID, Megan was staying with her like 24/7 to make sure that she was all right.
Yeah.
She was waiting for heart operation. But then my mum wanted to go in isolation by herself.
Right.
Obviously, me and Megan would have to go and do the shopping and stuff. So Megan come back and stay with me. And what a lovely lassie she was turned out. And it's like brought that special bond. And now, I feel like I could stay in lockdown forever as long as I was with her. Do you know what I mean?
That's a lovely thing to say. Because, you've heard yourself that there's loads of families that have had domestic violence and bust-ups and breakups and all of that. Takes a special bond to hang together. And, it's funny because I did kind of what she did, not living with me nan or anything, but I did beetle out and I left when I was 16 to just move in with a house full of crackers, essentially. And then you come back with your tail between your legs, realising, hell, spells, that's not for me. And then you've got to eat humble pie and do and all that kind of stuff. So it's just part of growing up, isn't it? That rebellious bit of, I'm going to be a Raji. But you're a Raji because you don't spend time with them, with your parents. You're there you come in for your tea, you have your tea, then you go to bed or you go out with your pals. You don't hang with your parents much. So the fact that you've had no choice has brought you together. And how great is that? That is tremendous.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, actually, it wasn't one for doing the dishes or tidying up, but anything like that. And, she just, I was like, where's Megan gone? Who are you? Who's replaced Megan?
Megan 2, the improved version. Brilliant.
I was like, who's replaced Megan? Yeah.
That's
absolutely
good.
Brilliant.
Hey, well, top job. Thanks for coming on, Donna. That is a great, simple pleasure. Thanks for ringing.
Right, thank you, Alan. Have a lovely evening.
Well, darling, thank you. That's sweetie. Let's go to Billingham. We've got David there. I think he's on the same kind of tack. Hi, David.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, sir. What can we do for you?
Hiya. I'll just try to talk about, the pleasure, the simple pleasure.
Oh, I know the pleasure.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier on the Facebook about biking.
Yes, and how you like to get on the... What stops you because you say you love to get on the bike the mountain bike 3 or 4 times a week. What kind of things stop you then?
It'd be a lot. I don't know, whenever I'm busy seeing family, really, that kind of stops me. But I love trying to get on my bike. Lord.
Yeah, but life gets in the way and you got to end up doing stuff. I absolutely understand that. You're not one of these Herberts that wear the lycra with the big padded bum, are you?
No.
Good to hear. So what do you wear when you go mountain biking then? Come on, you've got to have some of the kit.
I normally wear my shorts in nice weather, and then like mountain bike top, and then when it's like winter, I wear like more joggy bottoms.
All right, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is ordinary human clothes, not like the ones that were. I see a lot of weird stuff. There was one, and I don't know whether they make them this way, because if you've got like a cyclist's top, he had his mobile phone in a pocket on his back. Is that normal?
Yeah, sometimes that is. Yeah.
Really?
I've seen that before.
I just thought if he fell off his bike onto that, he'd kind of knock his phone, isn't he? But anyway, hey, his risk. I'm not going to worry about him. Yeah, it's just a lot of the fashion's dodgy, I think, that whole... I just don't understand the pants thing. I mean, surely you just have a nice seat. You don't have to... Do you have to pad it? I mean, when you go out in your shorts, are you filling your backside crack with a lot of toilet paper or something just to be on the safe side?
So I don't really see the point of the padding too. But, yeah, so I see why some people have it though. I see why.
I think there's a lot of people got enough padding around there. I'm not sure they need any more. But even so, so how far afield do you go with your mountain bike then? And do you do the off-road stuff or is it all on road?
Sometimes I go off-road and then sometimes I go like to the seaside, like Saltburn.
Oh, great!
Like Car.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got great beaches wherever you go up that part of the world, haven't you? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And you ever pedal along the end of the pier, Redcar?
I pedalled at the long end of the pier at Saltburn.
Saltburn, right.
Yeah.
That's good. Good stuff. So, David, thank you very much for coming on with your pleasure. It's great to hear from you. Thanks, man. Bye-bye. A lot of people coming on with their pleasures. We have somebody who has a face designed to smile. We nearly got him on last week. He was our first 2:05 in the morning caller, which was probably nearer, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 o'clock for him, because he's in Cincinnati, Ohio. His name is Buddy. He's our regular United States correspondent, and he's with us early tonight. Hiya, Buddy.
Hey, how are you?
There's the man. Good to talk to you. Want to find out everything about you. What's going on in the United States at the moment? You had COVID to the power of 10 the last time we were talking. Are things easing off? Are things getting worse? What's happening?
Well, some states it's beginning to flatten out. Ohio's doing a lot better than it was.
Right.
But Florida and Texas are really having bad spikes of it. And the reason being is that they tried to open it up too early.
Right.
And they didn't take precautions that they should have. Dr. Fauci tried to explain to them that that it's okay to open up if you take precautions. But Trump and his gang want to pack people into indoor venues and have no masks on their faces and have people stuck in together inches apart from one another, and that's how you get these big upticks in the number of cases.
Yeah,
And,
I did hear him say. I heard one of his speeches, Bodie, where he was saying, "We just got to get on with it, and whatever happens, happens." Well, you would never have a lockdown with that kind of attitude, would you? Anyway.
Yeah, no. The thing about this virus is it's opportunistic. And if you give it enough food and you create enough vectors for it, it gets worse and worse and mutates over and over again. And it's killing more people now than it did initially. The virus itself has mutated into something that's a lot more deadly than it originally was. And that's not going to stop or slow down. That's just going to increase exponentially.
This is a strange thing. No, but Bodie, we're hearing America, because at one time it was Britain that was the worst in the world, and now we're hearing Brazil, big style, has problems. A lot of the South American countries are realizing that one or two of the countries have even said that there's one small island nation that said, their government said, we don't even agree that there is such a thing as COVID. So everybody just go about your business, which is the worst case of denial I think the government's ever given. But the Americas, you've got a real big problem there, and it's going to be that you and Brazil, it's probably the two worst nations anyway.
Yeah, it's really dreadful, and I mean, of course, I take precautions. I wear a mask, and I try not to go out of the house if I can help it, because I've got Sherry here, and she's vulnerable.
Right.
And there's some elderly neighbors out here that are really vulnerable. I was at my mailbox the other day, and I had an elderly man walk up to me and say, me and my wife live 2 doors away from you, and we're just scared to death. And I said, well, you wear a mask and wash your hands and stay 6 foot apart and try not to go out if you can help it. You'll be all right.
It's easy to say that, though, Bodie, but people have to get food, and if they don't have anybody, like family to do it, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, the good thing is we've got something called Shipt, and Shipt is a company that will take your credit card numbers, and you call them in when you want something at the shops,
right?
And give them your credit card number, and they will pick up your stuff and deliver it to your door.
That's a load of shift. That's a lot of shift right there. It's funny because when you first said it, I did misunderstand what you'd said. And I was thinking, that's not a good name for an organisation. Excuse me, I want some from the shops. Would you mind picking it up for me? But shift is all right. Put an F in there. It makes it all the better. Pretty good. But I mean, bottom line is you've been eating well, you've been feeding, you looked after, you got people running around for you?
Oh, yeah. I have a whole lot of friends and people who are worried about me and taking good care of me. I'm very fortunate in that way. And I feel very strongly that that's something a lot of people need. There's a lot of vulnerable people out there.
Yeah, for sure. So, anything else happening in the world? I mean, what's Trumpy up to? Anything else other than COVID?
Well, I'm delighted to report that his popularity numbers have fallen so low now that most of the polls are predicting that he's gone. He's out of it. And Joe Biden is going to sweep the boards.
Right.
So I couldn't be happier.
So when's the election? Is it November? When is it?
Yeah, November the 5th, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Same as Guy Fawkes Day. So
right.
I'll have to go out and burn a Trump. Roast sausages over the burning Trump in my yard, my parking lot.
Can you just briefly, Bodie, I want to get into the Black Lives Matter thing, because in different states across your country, we've had different things happening. It's awful, the murder of young black people. I get it. Yeah. And some of the things that we've seen on screen, absolutely horrific. And yet different states seem to be dealing with it in different ways. What's happening in Ohio?
Well, Ohio is one of those states that's kind of straddling the line between being southern rednecks and a little bit more progressive because they're so far north of Tennessee and Kentucky.
Right.
We're right up there beneath Michigan, so we've got a progressive half and my city of Middletown is affectionately called Middle Tucky.
Oh dear.
So,
oh dear.
You've got people on both ends of the thing, and depending on who you are, or what kind of a person you are, you either are behind this Black Lives Matter movement or you're not. And I support the police in my area,
right.
But this year I didn't. And when they called me up, I said, you want a donation from me, you're going to have to stop killing brown people.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to get anything out of me. And I have a little bit of influence in the city council and a little bit of influence,
right?
Locally through the college.
Sure.
And I've gotten them spoken about it, and I don't claim that my word has any power or merit or whatever, but
that's
I'm
a start.
One of many who's
absolutely
begun to shake their fist at the clouds and say enough.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say it because we've talked about that group of people, and you describe them as rednecks, but they're going to wear a Trump "Make America Great Again" hat no matter what, and they're the same people in the same areas that have schools that teach the Bible as fact and completely ignore science. You see, in Britain, I have difficulty with it, and I'm sure an awful lot of the people listening have difficulty understanding how anybody in their right mind can not support science at any level. And yet you've got some schools and colleges there that refuse to teach it because it disproves the Bible. We don't get that at all.
Our Board of Education had a meeting about putting a little sticker in our science books saying that evolution was only a theory. And I had to go to that meeting and explain the definition of theory to these ignorant people because they thought that theory meant guess. Theory doesn't mean guess. Theory means that it's the most plausible explanation for something based upon testing.
Right.
And, gravity is a theory.
Absolutely.
Would they like to go onto a tall building and test that theory? I don't think
very
they
good.
do.
Very good.
So
it's just that all of the things we have proof of, it goes into science at one level or another, pretty much. And the Bible.
It's a tool that tells us.
But I know with regards to the Bible, though, Bodie, and I don't know whether you're religious or you're not, and you're entitled to be anything you want to be. Just there is no proof whatsoever, whether we like it or not. And I'm not telling people to change their religions, but at a time when the Romans and the Jewish people wrote down every single thing that happened, which is around about the time Jesus was born, he's not mentioned anywhere. He wasn't mentioned until 200 years after he died, which kind of begs a question or two. But it's all about faith. People choose to believe in whatever God they want to, and they're allowed to do it. It shouldn't affect your education. That's the thing.
There were no less than 24 people, mythical figures, that had all the attributes of Jesus during that time.
Yeah.
And Jesus seems to be a collection of those, aspects of those.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Mithras. I'm sure you heard of Mithras, and Isis, and all these other gods.
There was a whole batch of messiahs as well. The interesting thing about the Old Testament seems to be that all of the stories that are in the Old Testament are also in ancient Chinese myth and legend.
Yeah.
And they've got Noah, although he's not called Noah, and he has all the animals on earth riding on the back of an enormous fish. But they've all been kind of stolen, plagiarized, changed the names. But this is what we've done. So, I mean, it just begs a lot of questions, whichever way you look at it. But it's just hearing that the same rednecks are voting for Trump that support those kind of theories, to use your word, is just a bizarre thing. What's the weather like there? Because we were told that this whole COVID thing would die out if it got hot. I'm guessing it must be pretty warm where you are now.
We just came out of a 10-day-long heat wave with temperatures in the mid-90s.
Oh, blimey. Wow.
And today it's 81.
So I'm guessing the weather has no impact at all on this damn thing then.
No, the only thing that it does is weaken the constitution of the poor people who are suffering.
Yeah. Get you. Hey, well, buddy.
Bad for anybody who's got a respiratory problem.
No, it's not a good because there's no air in the air in some of your states. Certainly, Florida will be the case.
Yeah.
Hey, but buddy, bless you. Thank you for coming on. Stay well. Look after the family. Love to you, and we'll catch up real soon.
Definitely.
Thanks, man.
I love you guys.
Take care.
Cheers.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. Buddy, our legend from Cincinnati. And we have some blah coming your way. But to cover our tracks,
something that Bodie's got in spades, and most of you do too. And I'm very, very grateful. Hi everybody, caught me saying something. This is where we kind of off the thing, because you got nobody to drive the cameras and stuff while we're blaring, because everybody comes in here. The blars are always funny, so please join us for that if you can. Tune in any which way you can. There's various ways of doing it. And if not, thank you very much. Don't forget, we got robsonsworld.com if you want to download some amazing adventures from all over the world. That's just some weird stuff. We got some weird shit, frankly, on there. And also, we've got the podcast coming out soon. I'm doing one about terrible Turks. You'll never believe some of the stories of what sultans have been up to. And also, I think on the next one, we're doing the Crooked Man of Durham, if you've never ever heard that story before. And along with that, some famous people and some of the weird stuff that they get up to too. The podcast's really taking off like a rocket. Spread the word of it. And keep it the Night Owls Greatest Hits next week. And eventually within the year, within hopefully 6 months, 5 months, we will be doing something very, very different indeed. We're aiming to, where we're going off-piste. Let's just put it that way, with your support. So get ready for it. Until then, God bless you. And I wish you well. Thanks for being with me. Absolute respect.
Alan Robson.
Night Owls.